Welcome to Journey with the Jays, NFL Sunday edition on Real 1100 AM radio. Spenser, Jon, JB, Jake here to give you our picks this week in the NFL. The Falcons were on a bye last week, so we are going to start with the Falcons game. They are playing the
Saints,
and they're away in New Orleans. So let's start with JB. You had a really good week last week. We'll get into it in a little bit, but who do you like in this game and why?
I'm going to go with the Falcons. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Saints. Breeze is banged up. His ribs are messed up. I don't think Taysom Hill is going to be the guy to go. I looked at the heater app. I'm getting 5 points with the Falcons. Their defense has stepped up. This is a completely different team without Breeze. They don't have Bridgewater to step in like they did last year. I'm all over the Falcons this week. Jake?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I love picking the Falcons, but this is not going to be one of those weeks. I know they're going to be without Drew Brees, and I understand that. But my main concern is this. Alvin Kamara, Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Thomas, Jared Cook. Please tell me who on that Atlanta defense is going to be stopping all four of them. It's just not going to happen. Even if Jameis Winston is quarterback, I know Winston is not a great quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, at least compared to Drew Brees, he's not. But he's still a decent quarterback. Taysom Hill is not going to play quarterback. He's not going to be starting at least. He'll be the gadget guy like he usually is. He'll probably come in for some snaps here and there. That's kind of what I would expect to see in their game plan. But Winston's a decent quarterback, and he did just throw for 30 touchdowns last season. Now, I know he threw for 30 interceptions, but I think with some better coaching, with some time on the sidelines, especially being backing up a guy like Drew Brees, you can learn from that a little bit. Even if he's not amazing, I think that's going to help him. And again, I love all the offensive weapons that the Saints have at their disposal. So I'm taking the Saints plus the 5 points. I like that. Look, the Falcons are a good team, they're a better team rather, but I don't see them stopping these weapons. And ultimately, I see New Orleans at least winning by a touchdown, if not more. Spenser?
Yeah, I like Atlanta in this game to cover the 5 points. They're +5. They are really good on the road against the spread. They're 3-1 away, and they're 1-4 home. They're in New Orleans. They're going up against a backup quarterback who they have seen for the last several years in Jameis Winston. It could be Taysom Hill. I think it's going to be Jameis at the end of the day. But I like the Falcons in this one. I think that, without Drew Brees, I think the Saints offense is going to look a little shaky. I don't think the Saints defense is that great. And I think the Falcons can do a little bit of damage through the air with Julio Jones and whatever other weapons. I know Ridley's might be still banged up, but whatever other weapons Matt Ryan has at his disposal. Jon, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm on the Falcons here. They're +5. Like you had mentioned, I'm taking the Falcons in this one. They've won 4 of the past 5 in this series against the Saints, so they really had the Saints number. They average almost 400 yards a game. The Falcons do. Their defense is playing better. The offense is getting Calvin Ridley back, which is big because even if Marshawn Lattimore is on Julio Jones, then you have to cover Hayden Hurst, who's been good, to cover Calvin Ridley, and all the weapons that they got. And Todd Gurley's been a pretty good running back as well for them. And I just don't know if I trust Jameis yet. He hasn't started a game this year. He threw a few passes this past weekend. So until Jameis Winston really gets a few games under his belt, because I assume that he's going to be a starter, I really don't trust him leading that offense. And Michael Thomas doesn't look like the same guy that we're used to. He just came back from injury. Doesn't look like the same guy, so we don't know if Michael Thomas is going to be back to that elite form. With Jameis Winston, what is it going to look like? They don't have a connection. They've never really played together. So with all these question marks, I got to go Falcons here, at least covering.
Okay.
I don't agree with any of you, but hey, that's why we are here to talk about it. I'm not always going to be right. You're not always going to be right. We'll see what happens.
We're going to start our locks of the week with JB, who had an unbelievable week last week. 3-1, JB, and you didn't even remember who you selected. So when you're that hot, I guess you're not even thinking about who you're picking. Give us your lock of the week.
So the Packers are going down to Indianapolis. They're two, really good teams, both in first place. Indianapolis came off a really good win against Tennessee. Green Bay looked suspect beating Jacksonville. Everyone's going to be on Indianapolis this week. You're going to get 2.5 points with the Packers. Buy up a point so you get the field goal. Packers are going to win the game outright. They're just a better team when it's all said and done. The Indianapolis defense really hasn't faced anybody this year. I think this is by far, if I'm betting, and I don't like betting underdogs, and I'm picking an underdog as my lock of the week, you got to take it. That's a sure winner. Spenser?
Yes, I will have to agree with you. I have Aaron Rodgers as the MVP right now. I think the Packers have been absolutely fantastic through these last few weeks, and I think they're going to continue this. I think this is a no-brainer. I think they win this game by a good amount here. I like the Packers as well. Jake, what do you think?
I wholeheartedly agree. Aaron Rodgers in the MVP conversation, him and Devontae Adams have just been absolutely lethal. I mean, I happen to have Rodgers in some fantasy leagues and Devontae Adams in some others, and I got to tell you, they've just been sick. I mean, and obviously I'm just talking about in general. They've been absolutely insane. And Aaron Jones is now that he's back, that's another weapon for them to have. You know, I believe Alan Lazard is supposed to be coming back, at least off of injured reserve. I believe he's supposed to come back in this game. That's the rumors I'm hearing. You know, it's not official yet, but I believe that's what it's expected to play. And then that's it's just another nice weapon for Rodgers. And Robert Tonyan is another solid tight end. He's a good weapon for Rodgers. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling has been better as of late. He's been another target for Rodgers. I love Rodgers in this game. Him versus Old Man Rivers, I'm taking the bad man this week because he's lighting up the NFL. And I get the Colts defense has played well. They haven't faced Aaron Rodgers yet. And they didn't face Aaron Rodgers yet. It's a pissed off Aaron Rodgers, which you have to keep in mind. John?
Yeah, I'm going Packers here as well. I feel like this one's a layup. The Packers are just a better team. The Colts aren't a good team. They beat a Titans team that's reeling. And I don't believe in the Colts. I just don't. The Packers are a team that's going to contend for the Super Bowl. They could potentially get to a Super Bowl. The Colts won't get anywhere close. And when you have guys like Jair Alexander who can cover the lack of receivers that the Colts have, the Colts really don't have a lot of offensive weapons, and they're going to have to put up points to keep up with the Packers. And Jair Alexander is one of the best cornerbacks in the league, so he'll shut down any receiving threat that the Colts throw at the Packers, which will force the Colts to run the ball, and the Colts have been terrible running the ball. Naeem Hunt's been great catching the ball out of the backfield, but running the ball, they've just been awful, and they're really going to have to run the ball to get that offense going because the passing game's not going to do it for them.
Yeah, all good points, John. I will say this. The Colts' wins have come against mediocre teams. I say this every week. The Vikings, the Jets, the Bears, the Bengals, the Lions. Their one good win was last week against Tennessee. We
don't even know what Tennessee is right now.
Right. And I don't believe in Phillip Rivers. I don't believe in that Colts offense. I don't think they're going to be able to hang with Green Bay. I think we're all in agreement here. Jake, what was your record last week?
2-1-1. I think I was the next best record for us. So 2-1-1. The reason I have that extra one at the end is a tie. It's technically a tie. I had the Cardinals, at the 2 points, and they only won by 2, so it becomes a push. So they didn't officially cover; they pushed. So my record ends up with 2-1-1. So I didn't lose, but I didn't win. This week, I'm taking the Vikings. We just talked about our MVP conversation. We had that in our regular Journey with the Jays show. We talked about who are our MVPs, and one of the guys that came up was Dalvin Cook. And I understand it's a quarterback-driven position. We talked about that. Dalvin Cook has been insane. He has been absolutely obliterating defenses. I mean, he has been awesome. And look, Kirk Cousins, I know, is not the best quarterback in the world. I'm not going to sit here and say that he is, but I do think he is better than some people give him a little bit of credit for. He's a decent quarterback, and obviously him and Thielen have something going on, and more importantly, him and Justin Jefferson have got something going on. I really like this offense a lot. They have been extremely fun to watch as of late, and it really, more importantly, looks like the Vikings are they're really picking it up. I mean, they played a solid defense this past week against the Bears. I'm not saying they're the best, but they're a solid defense. And more importantly, the Vikings this week are playing against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys defense is, as I've continued to say and will continue to say, is hot garbage. It is pathetic. They are terrible. Dalvin Cook is going to run all over them. Justin Jefferson's going to run all over them. Adam Thielen's going to run all over them. This is, as John would say, a layup at 7 points. That's not even a question. I think it's going to be at least a 2-score game, if not more, for the Vikings to win this. JB, what do you think?
Dallas, 31st against the rush, 32nd in the league with points given up. Dalvin Cook is going to feast, MVP all day. That's all I got to say. John?
Yeah, I'm on Minnesota, obviously, here. I think this is an easy one. The only stat that I'm really going to throw out is the Cowboys are negative 13 in turnover differential. That's all you need to know. When you're negative 13 in turnover differential, you don't really have much of a chance.
I can't believe all you guys are picking against the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton. He's going to be activated. He's going to start in this game, and I don't think he's going to win. I think he will keep this game close. I have the Cowboys covering the 7 points. I think they're going to lose by, 3 or 6 points.
I think he's going to see ghosts.
You think he's going to see ghosts?
Coming off the concussion.
Don't sleep on my man, Andy Dalton. The guy was a legend in Cincinnati. Always went to the playoffs. Never won in the playoffs, but always went.
Spencer, if he was a legend in Cincinnati, I'm a little bit concerned about your definition of the word legend.
Legend.
That's a fair point.
All right, John. You went, 1-2-1 last week?
Yes.
So who was your lock of the week?
Rough week. My lock of the week is the Dolphins. Again, going to Denver. Drew Lock is very questionable. He's uncertain to play as of right now, as of Tuesday. Even if he plays, he looked terrible against the Raiders. The Raiders aren't a very good defensive team. And now they play the Dolphins' red-hot defense. I know they're at home, but Brett Ripien would be the guy that would start. Brett Ripien's not a good quarterback. Not a quarterback you want to put up against the Dolphins' defense that is just playing lights out, not to mention their special teams. So this is just, for me, this is an easy one. The Dolphins are -3 right now. That should be easy points to take for the Dolphins. They should win by at least 7, but -3, I mean, that's generous.
Yeah, John, you're going to have me reveal one of my picks, but yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, this was actually one of my other picks. And yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a question. That Miami defense is legit, and there's no doubt about it. They have continued to prove that now, and I understand I was admittedly a hater at first. I mean, especially John, just to spite you, because that's what we do here. We spite each other, and I admit I was definitely a hater, but the Dolphins have proved me wrong. I believe I bet on them. I know last week I bet on them and I hit on that. I believe I hit on them the week before, and I'm riding this hype train with Tua. Tua's 3-0, and he's not doing amazing, but he's a game manager enough. And with that defense, it honestly, and I don't mean that Tua is anywhere near Peyton Manning, but it is reminiscent of when they won the Super Bowl. And what I mean by that is you have a quarterback that's your game manager, and he's not blowing teams out, but he's also not costing you the game. And you have a defense that's doing its job and really taking care of the game. That's how I feel about this Miami team right now. It's kind of the vibe I get from them. So, yeah, I absolutely like them this week. I don't have any worries against Miami. At 3 points, that's John, as you say, that's a layup. Spencer, what do you think?
If Drew, the baby-faced assassin Lock, was playing in this game, I would like Denver at home. But unfortunately, as John pointed out, his status is hazy. You might see Brett Rippon. You might see Jeff Driscoll. I'm not crazy about the Broncos' chances if Drew Lock is on the sideline. I would lean heavily towards Miami in this one. John, I know you're being a homer, but at the same time, the Miami Dolphins are one of the hottest teams in football, and that's a non-biased fan saying that. So I like the pick. I'd probably lean towards Miami in this one. If Drew Lock plays, I would probably lean toward Denver. JB?
Tua all day. The guy doesn't lose, and he does what's needed to win. He's managing the games. Here's a guy who's a star coming into a situation in a league that is quicker than what he played against, and he's doing everything that's asked of him. He's slowing up the game. He's doing the little things and just managing the game so that they continue to win. He's not making the mistakes that you see a lot of rookie quarterbacks make. That was a big difference why they won last week against San Diego. Los Angeles, Justin Herbert, made a lot of mistakes. I keep wanting to move the Chargers back to San Diego. But, the Dolphins defense, they're no joke either. They've been playing well. Special teams, they're a well-coached team. I hate to say, John, you root for a good team. And I think
Emmanuel Ogbah, oh my gosh. If anybody doesn't know about him coming from the Chiefs, that guy has 8 sacks. That guy's fun to watch.
Real quick, John. Brian Flores, Coach of the Year?
I think he has to be taking the team from what they were 3-3 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then if they continue this and they get to maybe 9-3, I guess that would be going up against the Chiefs, week 14. You'd have to really give him consideration for that. He turned the team around in basically 2 years, 1 year from ripping the team apart. That's impressive. Not even just speaking homerism wise, but that's impressive.
Yeah, if the Dolphins make the playoffs, I don't know how you can give it to anyone else. I think he's done an extraordinary job there. I finished. Yep.
I was going to say, especially if they win that division. It's painful for me to say because I know John is having his ego inflated as we say all of this, but I do agree with it. He's done a phenomenal job in Miami, so he deserves a lot of credit.
I finished last week 1-2-1. And the game I tied was the Browns Texans spread. I'm overall 7-12-1 with my locks of the week. So I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers minus 1.5. They are home against the Detroit Lions. What worries me about this game is Teddy Bridgewater's status is a little bit hazy. I think he will play. McCaffrey will likely be out again this week. Stafford for the Lions, he's also banged up. I think he should play this week too. But the Panthers, they got the snot kicked out of them by the Bucs. They're not a bad football team. They're 5-5 against the spread this year. Unfortunately, their home record against the spread stinks. But being a 1.5 favorite against the Detroit Lions team that I don't think is very good, I think they're due for a bad week. The Lions. I like the Panthers to cover the 1.5. What do you guys think, Jake?
I'll start this off. I don't disagree. I see what you're saying, but I like Detroit, especially if Stafford's playing, which we expect that he will. The most important thing that I look at, in this game is who are going to be your X factors, so to speak. And for me, it's one guy that stands out to me above the rest, and that happens to be on the Detroit Lions. And it's DeAndre Swift. He has been really impressive as of late, and he's a great young running back. He had a bit of a rough start. It wasn't perfect. He had some competition at the running back, but he has cemented his number one role, and he looks really good, especially after a great week last week. I really like that. I love Matthew Stafford and what Marvin Jones have been doing as of the past few weeks, with obviously Kenny Golladay being out. They have a nice connection, and they're showing that. And, look, I get it, but I don't love Teddy Bridgewater. I don't love that offense, especially without McCaffrey. That's a little bit unnerving to me. If McCaffrey was in, I would agree. But without McCaffrey, I think the Lions have a slight edge, so I do give it to them. And obviously the spread being so little, that's 1.5. That's nothing. I'm not worried about that in any way. If it was 7, like a big spread like that, it might be different. But 1.5. Even if it's a close game, I still give this to the Lions. John?
Yeah, this one is interesting. I'm actually going to go Panthers, but Stafford is supposed to play like Spenser said. He has a partial tear in a ligament in his right thumb, which, this guy's as tough as it gets, so kudos to him. We don't know if Golladay is going to play. Mike Davis is a pretty good backup running back. He's shown that. And I don't think the Lions can't stop the run worth anything. They blow leads all the time. Even when they're up big, they blow leads. They blew it against Washington. They won, but 24-3 they were up. So, man, how are you going to stop Mike Davis? When you can't stop the run at all, they're going to run down the Lions' throat. Teddy Bridgewater is questionable, so probably run the ball more. So I just have to go Panthers. This line is just basically who you think is going to win the game.
It's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em.
Yeah.
It is.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the Lions feast tonight. Get out of here. Listen, the big cats are gonna have their way with them. No McCaffrey. Don't waste your time. Don't even watch this game. Don't bet this game. But if you got to pick somebody, the Lions are better. Both these defenses are awful. Both these teams are awful. But if we're gonna pick, we're gonna go with the Lions. But now getting to some real games. Let's get on to my picks. So 3-1 last week. We got Green Bay as the lock of the week, plus 2.5. Like I said, if you're betting by the point, I got Atlanta plus 5. The Chargers got the Jets this week. They're giving 8.5. Everybody beats the Jets. Why not the Chargers too? And I got Cleveland minus 2.5. Spencer, what do you got?
I got the Falcons plus 5 against the Saints. Recap: my lock of the week was the Panthers minus a point and a half. And JB, you and I should do a side bet because clearly you don't agree with me with that pick. So we're going to talk offline about that. I got the Titans plus 6.5 against Baltimore on the road. I have the Raiders plus 6.5 against Kansas City. I don't know if they win that game. I think it's going to be very close. Those are my picks of the week. Jake?
Yep. So recap of my picks. I had Vikings cover that 7-point spread. We talked about the Dolphins with John, 3 points, so I'm kicking them. I am picking against you, Spencer, and I'm taking the Chiefs at 6.5. I like that offense. I love them. And then we also talked about the Saints versus the Falcons, so I'm taking the Saints as well this week. And just a reminder, anybody that's listening, all of these lines are brought to you by the Heater app. Check them out. They are a friend of the show. John, what do you got this week?
Yeah, so my lock of the week, as I mentioned, is Miami minus 3. Atlanta plus 5 against the Saints going into New Orleans. Minnesota against Dallas minus 7 at home. Minnesota should easily win that one. And then Cincinnati against Washington. This is basically Cincinnati's plus 2. This is basically who you think is going to win the game. Cincinnati, I think, is ultimately better. I don't think Washington's a good team. I don't think Cincy is, but with Joe Burrow, that makes a difference. And so I'm going Cincinnati here.
All right, there you go. So we are going to bring in our gambling expert, Jeff Cadillac. You can follow Jeff on Twitter at JeffCadillac1 or check out his website, jeffcadillac.com, where he releases his weekly gambling picks. Jeff, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, fellas. It's always a pleasure.
All right, let's get started. Let's get started with your picks, man. We are eager to hear them.
Okay. Well, I first want to make a comment. I said that week 10, this is the first time in a long time, or as long as I've been following the games, that the 6 home favorites in the late game schedule, in the afternoon schedule on Sunday, all won, which is unbelievable. 6 home favorites. That never happens. It's a first time, and I hope it doesn't happen again because it really kind of, screws up all the picks because usually when you take all favorites, usually, if every game, if you picked out of 14 games, you pick 12 favorites, usually you have a bad week because it's a good mix of both. But anyway, getting into the 4 games that I usually like to talk about on your show, I'm talking about this one game that I don't think anybody's even looked at or even picked. Pittsburgh at the Jags. Now, the Jags are getting 10 at home. Why? Because they're not that good. But the thing is that they play the Pittsburgh Steelers very well. No matter how bad the Jags are, no matter how good the Pittsburgh Steelers are, they always play the Jags well. The last 10 games, including the 2017 playoffs, the Jags are 5-5 straight up and 8-2 against the spread playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, in 2017, they beat them twice at Pittsburgh. Yes, a lot of people are going to say that was an anomaly for that year. But like I said, in the past, they seem to play the Steelers tough. I think at home, again, the Jags might be taken for granted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like the Jags in this game. I like this guy, Jake Luton, already. Jags got nothing to lose. All the pressure is basically on Pittsburgh because they're 9-0. Jags, we know, are going, they're going for like either one of the top 3 picks of the NFL draft for next year. Doesn't really matter. But they're loose. They know everybody's picking them to lose. But I think they'll keep this game close. I don't see it as a blowout. I think Pitt already blew out Cincinnati last week. And after a team usually blows out a team one week, the next week they come out not as tough. Just like a couple of weeks ago, Dallas played Pittsburgh very tough after Pittsburgh had blown out another team the week before that. So it's not always a combined, a constant blowout. The next game I'm looking at also, New England -2 at Houston. I think New England now has finally got adjusted to the Cam Newton as quarterback thing, and their running game is great by committee. Whoever you put in there right now, Harris, Burkhead, Michael. I mean, no matter who is in there, they get the yardage. They know what they're doing. They know the system. Newton is finally getting comfortable back there. I mean, the fact that they just came off a nice win against Baltimore, yes, it was in the rain. It was, downpour and everything. But look, they were playing Baltimore. Baltimore was in the same game that they were, but Baltimore couldn't do anything right. And New England still has that defense that shows up. You have a defense that still was there last year. They're still playing well. You got a lot of stars on that team. And Houston is just terrible. They got so much talent on this team, but they got the wrong coaching staff. They can't get anything going. They scored 7 points against Cleveland. It was terrible. The defense gave up over 200 yards rushing against Cleveland with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They're just terrible, basically. I mean, I'm sure J.J. Watt can't wait till this season is over. And I do like, New England laying the 2 at Houston. They always seem to beat up on Houston and Deshaun Watson, he's a great talent, but they need a good coaching staff to come in there and really, cultivate that talent. The next game I'm also looking at is Miami -3 at Denver. I mean, Drew Lock last week for 4 interceptions, and the turning point of that game was basically, if you guys were watching that game against the Raiders, it was close to the end of the first half. And Drew Lock had run into the end zone, but there was a holding penalty. And then on the very next play, threw an interception in the end zone and close to it. And that, if Denver had scored the touchdown there, they would have taken the lead going into the half, and it would have been a different game going forward. But it took like the sails right out of Denver and Drew Lock. And Drew Lock is still learning the game, I think. He's still learning the NFL game because he's still trying to, thread the needle. This isn't college. You're not playing against some guy you never heard of and never going to see at corner. This is where you have every cornerback in the NFL was a college all-star. And Drew Lock, he's making certain mistakes that, you just can't make against NFL teams. And four interceptions, you're not going to win. I don't care who you are. You just asked Russell Wilson about turnovers, and even he makes mistakes. And when you make too many of them, you put your team in a big hole. And the fourth game I'm looking at, and you guys didn't even mention at all, which is a big surprise. Maybe one of you guys did. I know someone did. But I love New York Jets +9 at the Los Angeles Chargers. Nobody's picking the Jets for this game. And you want to know something? They have all 3 of their receivers. They got Joe Flacco. They got guys that are still playing for jobs. We all know probably that Adam Gase is going to be gone after the season. But you know what? They're going to keep this game close. They're not going to get blown out. They almost beat New England. They should have beaten New England. They play certain teams tough. They know that this is probably the easiest game on their schedule. Jets always have a tough schedule. And going forward, I like the Chargers. I like Justin Herbert. I like what I see from him. But the Chargers have a lousy defense. They give up a lot of points. Justin Herbert is learning the NFL game as well. But the Chargers defense has nobody on there that you could actually say is doing the job. I mean, Bosa and Ingram are basically silent. If they're not injured, they're not playing. There's something not going on over there, and they're not getting the job done. And the secondary for the Chargers can be picked apart. And if Joe Flacco, after that last game, he knows that he had a bad game against New England in that fourth quarter, and he knows that he had the game in his hands. And a good NFL quarterback, not that Joe Flacco is a great NFL quarterback anymore. I mean, he was always just average, but he learns from his mistakes, and he knows that next time around, because Sam Darnold is out with the shoulder injury, he's going to play better, and he's probably been watching film on the Chargers, during the bye week, and I think that they're going to bounce back, and I think the Jets have a shot because Chargers are probably going to take them, for granted, like everybody else does, like New England did. And they're going to say, hey, you know what? This team isn't that good, but the Chargers aren't that good either. That's why I think the spread is ridiculous. And one of the tips that I told you guys that I always see is if 2 terrible teams are playing each other, take the terrible team that's getting the points, because that's the team that usually is going to come out ahead. And, Chargers -9. I mean, who's picking this one? I just don't understand. And I like the Jets really to keep it close and maybe even pull the upset. So, those are my 4 games that I like this week. And, folks, if you want more analysis on each and every game for free, you can check out my website at jeffcadillac.com and my best bet on Twitter on Fridays at jeffcadillac1.
Thanks, Jeff, for stopping by. We appreciate it. So we're
Thank
coming
you.
up on Thanksgiving this week, guys. So make sure you're feasting with us. We'll be on Thursday nights in Atlanta, Real 1100. Spend your Thanksgiving night with us. And make sure you're feasting it with some of our wins this week. All right, this has been Journey with the J Sunday edition.